The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Turn off my amp here. All right. Welcome to Gray Lakes Music. This is your host, Judah Guerra, as I'm turning my chair.
Yeah.
And welcome to the podcast. This is a pursuit to learn more about what's going on here in Michigan with music. And I'm a Michigan State student. I study jazz studies, and I'm a bass and trombone player, born and raised in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where my guest is also a resident. And Kevin Jones is, if you've been living under a rock and have not heard the name Kevin Jones, then you're missing out. But you may have heard of his drum, whether it be through the Isley Brothers or Whitney Houston or Jermaine Jackson or the late, great Joey DeFrancesco even. We could go on and on. But Prof. Jones, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, Judah, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, and thank you for all that you're doing and trying to do to raise awareness and to uplift the community, and the jazz community and the music community in general, here in West Michigan and throughout Michigan and the Midwest.
I appreciate that, Prof. Well, before we start getting into your background, where you came from, all that, I'd love for you to talk about this song and what it means and how you wrote it. And
oh yeah,
the song we just played. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's that all about?
Yeah. So what's that all about? It's this like weird name, hard to pronounce, and it's like that's like a no. In it's like you got to name your songs that people can pronounce. So the song that we just played is called Bodhisattva.
Bodhisattva.
Wonderful sound. And it comes from a parable from the Lotus Sutra. I'm a practicing Buddhist. I've been practicing Buddhism since I was 13 years old. So about 50 years now I've been practicing Buddhism. And the parable about Bodhisattva, wonderful sound. And the word Bodhisattva is one who is in service to others, right? And one who helps others find the way, right? And so wonderful sound means Bodhisattva, the one who helps others find their way through sound, music in particular, and words too, and speech, and uplifting people. And that's so the song was written. I took actually parts of the melody from a West African melody, kind of that kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
I was listening to the percussion ensemble of Guinea, and it's like I heard all of these different songs, because there's like a lot of vocals in the music too. It's not just like drums. And so I was like, I could put together something like that. And my friends in the band, they reharmonized, put some different harmonies under it, and there you have it. That was like the first song from the first album I did, which was released by Motema Music back in 2004. So that's the story, because I want to uplift people. That's ultimately the job of us musicians. Barring it's always nice to hear music that's technically like have musicians that have technical prowess, but ultimately it reminds me that our job as musicians is to uplift the people. That's really it's like to uplift us, and through art, art of all kinds, for sure.
Wow, that's beautiful, Prof. And it's getting goosebumps just talking about that. But I think one thing I've always noticed in getting to know you is, even though you have all this credibility and all this accomplishments in your career, is keeping true to those values and seeing you reach out and being humble to everyone, no matter where they're from. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later.
Okay.
And so, Prof, you're from Tanglewood, New Jersey.
Not
right?
No, not Tanglewood.
No?
Tanglewood is something else. That's like that's another place. Englewood.
Englewood, my bad.
Yeah, straight out of Englewood, New Jersey.
We'll edit that out.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. You leave it in there, Englewood, Tanglewood, But we had a different kind of Tanglewood. Tanglewood is known for the music, So,
Okay.
Too. So, but Englewood is also.
Englewood. So
Englewood, there's a lot of cats came out of Englewood, and New Jersey in particular, like Newark, Wayne Shorter and Sarah Vaughan, but Dizzy Gillespie used to live in Englewood.
Wow.
So did Sarah Vaughan.
Wow.
And but even so, like we had Englewood and the surrounding area, like Teaneck and Hackensack. Hackensack is actually where Rudy Van Gelder's studio was.
Wow.
But they were recording there before I was born, so I wasn't part of that. With the Blue Note Records, a lot of Blue Note Records. Then they moved to Englewood Cliffs, where his studio still stands now.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a lot of musicians. Like Sam Rivers lived a couple of blocks away from me. I grew up like everybody back in my day, back in the 60s and 70s. Everybody played music.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not everybody, but a lot of people played instruments.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have all the technology that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can go on our phones and look and see whatever we want to see, or what you got 1,000 channels, over 1,000 channels on TV, 2,000, whatever. There's a lot. That's what we did. It's back in the day, and so we had musicians that lived down the street. I have had a lot of mentors that came out of Englewood, Teaneck area. There's a drummer that lived down the street, and he used to play with Eric Dolphy.
Wow.
And
What was his name?
Earl Buster Smith.
Okay.
Earl Buster Smith, because there's another Buster Smith from Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
But and then his younger brother, Marvin Boogaloo Smith, not Smitty Smith, lived. I mean, they lived like 3 houses away from me. Mm-hmm. So like I used to see cats coming in there, like Roy Haynes and Charlie Persip used to come by and practice, and guys used to hang out there. Like I didn't know who they were back then, but I used to see all kinds of cats coming through their house.
Wow.
And eventually, when I started to play the drums, or like hand drums, my father went down there to see, like, hey man, my son wants to play the conga drums.
Wow.
And he needs a teacher. And so he said, I got somebody who lives around the corner. And it was this guy named Carl Potter. And he used to come every Wednesday to my house. And he played with the Isley Brothers.
Wow.
Before I did.
Wow.
So when he moved to Europe, so him and Marvin Smith, Boogaloo, they moved to Europe. And I took my teacher's place in the band.
Wow.
And we had the Isley Brothers lived in Englewood and Teaneck. That's why they had a label called Teaneck Records. Wilson Pickett lived in Englewood. Ed Townsend, who wrote Let's Get It On for Marvin Gaye, lived in Englewood.
Wow.
Nat Adderley and Nat Adderley Jr. lived in Teaneck, the next town over.
Wow.
The great drummer Yogi Horton lived like 7, 8 blocks away, maybe. We had, and then there was a studio called All Platinum Records that was located in Englewood, owned by Joe and Sylvia Robinson, and they produced groups like the Moments, R&B groups. And eventually that turned into Sugar Hill Records.
Okay.
And they're the ones that put out the first hip hop or rap album.
Wow.
The Sugar Hill Gang.
That's deep.
Yeah. And so there was always people coming through, and we were always recording. And, you know, it was like we had jobs. You know, it was like a mini Motown. Mini, like Motown. I'm not saying they were, you know, in the same part, but, you know, that's where I got my first gig at, going on the road at 13 years old. So, like, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, man. So, yeah.
So what I'm hearing is Englewood has a very had a very rich musical community where you were getting everything from all different types of genres. Yeah. And so, but the thing is, you started music in your home, right? Yeah. And it started doing piano lessons. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody, all the kids had to take piano lessons. So it was like a requirement. Yeah. You know, we all had to take piano lessons. Man. And, you know, I probably would have ended up a piano player if I had, if I was close to another pianist that was, you know, that inspired, like if Marvin and Carl played piano and bass or something, like, you know, like I probably would have been a pianist.
Right. So you got your drumming from them, from the outside.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But you know, my grandmother was a pianist, and she played with Bessie Smith. Wow.
That's huge
at one time. And she used to, I mean, her regular gigs though were out in St. Louis and Kansas City, playing for the silent movies. When the silent movies used to come, that's how she used to support her 6 children.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
That's part of what she did. You know, she used to hustle.
Englewood. Was that in Englewood?
No. Okay. My grandmother's from, actually she's from Mississippi, but St. Louis is my father's home. So, you know, she moved to St. Louis. She first moved to Kansas City and St. Louis. Wow. You know, so she was part of the scene, you know, like she was like, and for a woman to have a gig like that, you know, back then, like people didn't know. And, you know, and Bessie Smith hired her to do some work, you know. So, you know, I have that, but it was interesting because she never played any secular music. She also at home, she always played gospel music at home, you know, Closer Walk with Thee and all of that, you know.
Yes, sir.
You know, so, you know, we kind of get that musical thing from my father's side of the family, you know, and my brother's a guitarist, you know, he plays guitar, and, you know, I wanted to keep up, see, so like, I was
older brother?
My older brother. Yeah, I'm the youngest in the family. Okay. And, you know, he like, we had a piano in the house, like a baby grand in the house. And, you know, but we couldn't rehearse in the living room. It was like no way my father and my mother were going to allow like a bunch of kids to be like bringing their amps and their drum set into our living room. That was like, no. Right. And so, like, you know, back then, you know, I think the Fender Rhodes was the keyboard, and it was like expensive. Right. Like, so you're not going to buy a 10-year-old a Fender Rhodes, you know what I mean? Or even a Wurlitzer for that matter, you know? So, you know, I was like, you know, I want to join my brother's band. My brother's down there, he's rehearsing with cats, and was like, I'm going to play the drums, like drum set. Okay. And it was like, you know, I started begging my parents for a drum set. And they were like, well, maybe, you know, maybe in a couple of months or maybe next year. It was like, you know, it's a big, you know, like, you know, just like my parents couldn't just shell out money. It was a lot of us to feed and clothe. And then next thing you know, some cat around the corner had a drum set, and he was the drummer. Okay. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to play bass. Okay. You know, and I was like, you know, no. Robert down the street got a bass. Like, it's like everybody played music in my neighborhood almost. It's like half the neighborhood. Yeah. I was like, man, shoot, so it was some bongos that my sister had in her room. It was like really cheap pair of bongos. So I took them down to rehearsal, and I just started playing. I was like, man, you know, later for this, now I'm not going to miss out on all the fun, because music was fun. It is fun. You know, it's part of what we want to do. It's like, you know, So they were like, "Oh man, you should keep coming back," and you know,
yes, sir.
you know. So, and then it was like, okay, so like I graduated from the bongos to congas, and then I actually didn't start playing djembe, which is another story. Like until like 23 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
that's another story. I'll tell you that, you know,
For sure. So, wow, that's really interesting. You have a whole different type of connection with your instrument because of that. You had to literally earn your way into that social environment.
It was so. It's just like, oh, you want to be accepted. You want to be one of the, you know, the cool guys. You know, because if you played music back then, it was like, you know, Kevin's in a band or so Judah's in a band, man. You need to check him out. You know, it's like you want to, you know. So yeah.
What would you say to someone that feels kind of that they don't have a rich, like a young person, a rich musical community, and they feel like they are kind of looking for places to play or looking for inspiration? What would you say to someone that, you know, feels like they need it? They need that rich community.
Well, you know, times are different now. You know, like I said before, there's so much going on right now. There's so many, can I say, avenues and things for kids to do. You know, parents now, a lot of times, not all the time, but, you know, a lot of parents, they take them to soccer or to baseball and, you know, gymnastics or, you know, robotics or whatever. And, you know, their schedules are filled up, you know, with things that, you know, that are pre-scheduled and pre-planned. You know, we kind of grew up, we didn't have a plan. It wasn't, you know, I mean, we did, you know, I did, you know, my brother and I were on the baseball team, but it wasn't real organized. We were in Little League and stuff, you know, but I think that in today's world, the way we operate, I think that you have to find kids, younger people, I should say, just have to seek it out. There is you know, it's really interesting because there's a lot, like you can go on YouTube and find out how to play just about anything. It's like, you know, I want to learn how to play ornithology. How can I play ornithology on piano? And you can just look it up, and it's like, yeah, you know, it's like this is chords, and like you use this inversion, and it's like blah 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 whatever, you know, and you know, or drums or bass or anything, you know, just about anything you want to know, you can go on the internet and find it. They have here's a tutorial on God Bless the Child, you know.
Right.
So it's less organic. Everything is less organic now because of technology. But I'm hoping to, like, I'm trying to change that. And I think that you're trying to change it too, right? Yes, you know, and the way we teach at State, at MSU, I think it's more, it's you know, there's an organic feel to it. Like there's an organic vibe to it. You know, like you get to be around guys like, you know, really, really, you know, like you get to be around musicians like Uncle G, like Randy Gillespie, Professor Gillespie, and who has like, you know, this wealth of experience, man. You know, like he played with Sonny Stitt.
Right.
In West Montgomery, you know, he's on the road. Man, he was on the road before we were even a gleam in our daddy's eye. You know, like he's been, you know, he went through
right.
And all the stuff that he's gone through. You know, and you have Prof Whitaker, who's played with like everybody, and Prof Deese, and you know all the professors, right? and I really truly feel like none of the professors from, Professor Whitaker to Randy Napoleon to Uncle G, like they all have this group. I should say we, because I feel like I'm part of that too.
Faculty.
Like we want to see our students succeed. We want to see we take the students as like kind of like our kids, like our nieces and nephews or something. Like they're part of our family. You guys are like part of the family, and you get that kind of organic feel when you go to MSU. Like that's how the jazz studies department is there. And I would say, for the most part, because I teach in like jazz studies and percussion area, so same thing, it's the same vibe, So, yeah, man, I think like you and Kevin Brewster went to EK, right?
Yes.
East Kent, right? Excuse me. And so, like, maybe there weren't as many musicians that were like dedicated in high school at EK as it was in my high school, but because like we had a graduating class that was like, one of the saxophone players, he plays on Broadway now, but he ended up playing for Mongo Santa Maria, and
wow.
Another drummer friend of mine, he played with Freddie Hubbard and Harold Land, and another friend of mine was a co-producer with Kashif and went another direction, playing in the R&B, soul, funk vibe, I ended up playing with the Isley Brothers. There's like, we had a real killing class, from, like of musicians in our high school. But you guys remind me of that. Like it's sort of like my youth, like when I see you, like guys like you and Kevin Brewster, it reminds me of that. But I think overall, I think we have to change our values in this country.
Talk about it.
Well,
Go ahead, man.
okay, all right, I'll talk about it.
It's free, man.
What we value in this country is not art. It's not about art. And art is what makes us human, right? Art is what, arts of all kinds, whether it's jazz, music in general, visual arts, dance, drama. Art is what makes us human. That's part of being human. And, our value system, what we value has changed over the years. Like it's really about, for a lot of people, it's about money. It's about fame. We're caught up in, this era of social media and garnering attention. I mean, like, I'm not trying to down anybody, but look at, like, the Kardashians. Like, we value that.
Drama.
Yeah, drama. Look at all the what do you call it? Reality shows. Like, we get off on people, like, people's misery and that's what we like to see. People arguing over dumb things on a reality show, and Survivor or whatever,
Yes, sir.
what is it? The Housewives, and it's just like, like, that's what we value. That's what they put the money in. Like, people not paying money. Like, people's like, oh, I can't miss the Kardashians or the Housewives of New Jersey or whoever, whatever. We have to raise our children to teach them, what's valuable and what is less valuable. Art is what inspires us. We could look at a picture and see something in like a photograph of a sunset or a painting and be so inspired by that. Maya Angelou said, he says, people may not remember what you said, or they may not remember what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. Right? So what's our job as a musician? It's to help people to feel something, how you make them feel inside, uplift them. So, it's a deeper problem than that. I played at GR Noir Wednesday night.
Steve Talaga, right?
Yeah, it was Steve Talaga, one of the great pianists.
Shout out Steve Talaga.
Yeah, Steve Talaga. I think we had like 11 or 12 people that came out. And people were screaming about having a jazz club in Grand Rapids. We need a jazz club in Grand Rapids. We really need a place to be able to play. There's not one club that has jazz, every week. Now you have club has jazz. There was no snowstorm. There was was a tornado warning. There wasn't anything on TV. I don't know if there was like in the finals or NBA with basketball or something. I don't know what happened. It's like people are not, their value system is skewed, and so like I think that we should be raising awareness, like raising our children to have to value art, in general, music, of course, jazz, of course, jazz is America's true art form,
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm talking too long, man.
No, man, we can end it right now, man. That's really good. And I think one thing I appreciate with MSU and Grand Rapids, that, somewhere like living on the countryside or somewhere else in Michigan, is that there is already a lot here. And that's what I'm trying to do, is bring awareness to what's already here, not just in Grand Rapids, but in West Michigan and parts I'm familiar with, but also just talking about with experienced individuals on talking about what's kind of missing. And that's what I appreciate with what you were talking about, is yes, raising people with the right values, but also, talking about it so people can realize right now what they can do, because we have GR Noir, we got festivals. Do we have Jazz Fest this summer? Do you know? The GR Jazz? No, we don't got that.
Yeah, Grand Jazz Festival. They're trying to like get it together, but you also have the West Michigan Jazz Society. You have Grand Jazz Fest is still in existence, but the person that was running it stepped down. Okay, and so since she stepped down, it hasn't taken on this big, component and ability to get donors, and so that's something that needs to happen. But there's still a lot going on, and I think one of the important things, not the most important thing, but one thing that's important is to really, if young people are not getting exposed to the music in their homes, we have to find a way to expose people to this music, because things that are organic, like people will eat organic food, but like organic music is not so popular. I find that people are like really, really aware of what they put in their body. their mouths, like what they eat, like, filtered water, bottled water, organic food, less sugar, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? But they don't really pay attention what's going in their ears because that affects your body, your mind, and your spirit.
For sure.
So all the music that you hear in popular music is automated now. It's computer generated.
Yeah, and what ends up happening is the music sounds a certain way, so people start forgetting that the lyrics too are like on some crazy, like really negative influence. So they're taking in the sound because it sounds okay, it sounds good, but they're like, what? And you listen to the lyrics and you're like, what did he just say? Like, did he actually just say that?
Yeah, exactly.
And it goes to what you're saying is organic, like taking it in. Whatever you take in is going to influence.
But I have hope. Like the Samara Joys of the world, right? Yeah. This young person that grew up and is like, she's like, kind of like the next Sarah Vaughan or something, like,
she's amazing.
I mean, she's amazing, and and the pianist that plays with her, Luther Allison came out of MSU, hello,
Yeah.
Like, you got and B Rose, Brandon Rose, like,
Rose.
You have like, there's so many great musicians that are not just coming out of MSU, but in general. There's so like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to just like, it's only MSU, man, like that's the only place you should go. But yeah, I mean, I think that, like there's like flowers sprouting out of the concrete.
Definitely.
You got you got Kevin Brewster, you got, you know what I mean? So like, as you, what I want to impress upon people like yourself, like you're doing all this, like, I think that we have to be sure to, when we have the opportunity to teach the really young people, let them see what jazz, like a jazz concert is, like see a jazz group and see us interacting and raising the emotion and the intensity of the music. That's what drew me in. I used to watch the drummer that lived down the street that influenced me, Marvin Smith. He used to set his drums up on the lawn, on the front lawn. And like we live right off the highway. So like as soon as you turned off the highway, you come to the house and he would be out there playing. And I was just like, I used to go down there and watch him play and just be amazed. Like, I mean, it was just something like jaw dropping stuff. And so, we have to be able to expose people to that because you don't see that anymore.
And I think a part of that is with the technology and social media is everyone always comparing, so that these young people that are really actually talented are feeling like they shouldn't share their gift, Right. And they're saying, like, students like, oh, I'm not good enough yet or something, even though they are, I think. Yeah. Because young people aren't like, oh, he just missed that change right there. Like, kids.
Oh, like people, yeah, like, there's like, there is judgment, a lot of judgment in the music world, but, that's how we get better. I think because of social media, like, and because of technology in general, the music has become more rigid, less organic, less like, it's about technique and velocity rather than something coming out of your heart, because, I mean, there's some guys now that play, percussionists now that can play, and they can play like, they got something going on their foot and something else going on the other foot, and they playing the hands, and they got 7 drums around them, and, and it's like, it's really like amazing. But that's not all. Because you can't do that, or someone can't do that, doesn't mean they don't have something to offer.
Definitely.
You know, and as we, like, what I'm finding for myself as I grow older, I'll be 64 in a couple of weeks. You know, I don't have the same, like, I don't have the same chop I used to have when I was like in my 20s, you know, like I don't have that same 20s, 30s, 40s, you know. But music is not about velocity. It's not about how many notes you could play. It's about touching people's heart. And that's the most important thing, because if you could touch somebody's heart, then that's the key right there. You know, that's the key. You know. So anyway,
Yeah.
I could talk for man.
Prof.
You can get me.
I already know.
Don't get me started.
Well, it's been beautiful talking with you, and I want to encourage people to. We didn't get to talk about everything about your career. Maybe we can a little more, but just go to, KevinJonesPercussion.com. That's what it is, right? And
yeah.
check out this talented man we have in Michigan, and see him. Go support him, and check out his music. 10th World.
Yeah,
it's an amazing
10th
band.
World. Oh, let me plug myself.
Yeah,
So
do it all.
I have a new release that's going to be coming out. Hopefully by the middle of June, or third week of June. Hopefully. It's called In This Moment. And
In This Moment.
In This Moment, yeah. And it was I titled the album that because that's one of the songs on the album that was written by Dr. Brian Horton, who unfortunately passed away last September. He was the director of jazz studies at NCCU and a long time the original member of the band. And he helped develop the sound of the band, and we actually had a recording that we did, I think back in 2007 or 2008, no, 2007. And it was just sitting there, and it was like, well, it was actually the last recording that he did with us all together, the original members of the band.
Wow.
And I'm trying to get it out there.
Yeah, for sure. In the moment.
In this moment.
In this moment.
And it's quite. I'm trying to get the word. Well, it's quite appropriate, I think, because all we have is each moment. This moment. The moment that. The moments pass. Life is a series of moments. It's not a series of days. It's a series of moments, and we should treasure each moment that we have together, and as people socially, and treasure each moment that we get to live, because it's not guaranteed, and it's something that affected me greatly. I never expected a 46-year-old man in the prime of his life to pass so suddenly. And, we should treasure life, treasure the dignity of life, that everybody deserves dignity. And, even if you don't agree with somebody, respect that person's life, respect their God nature, or whatever you want to, respect them, We have to show more respect for each other. I think that's an important point too. So In This Moment, 10th World, release coming forthwith.
Yes, sir. In this moment.
So yeah, I'll have I have some gigs coming up, and I'll have Professor Blanding will be playing saxophone.
Wow.
With us, and soon, and but I'm keeping the young guys around too, like Houston Patton and Alan Denard and some of the guys, Rufus Ferguson will be playing with us some gigs, and Jordan Anderson will be playing some gigs. You know, so yeah. So we you know, Caleb Robinson.
There you go.
You playing drums, like, you know. I love playing with
Chops,
him.
man.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great drummers and musicians that are coming out of West Michigan, Detroit, Lansing, Ann Arbor. You know, it's really music capital. We just need to find a record label like the old Motown, you know,
real,
like the, you know.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, we have Mac Avenue, but you know, it's like, you know, they can only have so many artists, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah,
That's really exciting. Everyone go check that out,
for sure.
as well as all the stuff you're doing at Jaron Wire as the curator of music there. Very appreciate. We talked a little bit about that. The only jazz club in West Michigan.
Yeah,
So
it's the only jazz club in West Michigan. The nearest jazz club is in Ann Arbor.
there you go, Blue Llama.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful place. The owners are amazing. Do you want to talk a little bit about Jaron Wire in terms of what you're looking for in terms of the future there with music?
Yeah, so GR Noir is owned by it's black owned. Chaton and Nadia Brigham own GR Noir, and they set out on a path to pair wine with jazz. Chaton Brigham is a level 2 sommelier. I hope I'm getting that right.
What does that mean? I don't know. I'm young.
Yeah, well, it's a wine connoisseur kind of,
Okay.
you know. Anyway, I don't know. He doesn't know about my job. I don't know about his job. You know what I mean?
For sure.
That's why they hired me. But they're very intent on offering a diverse palette of wines along with a diverse palette of music.
There you go.
And I think that you know, I've been really trying to live up to what their vision was and what their intent is by not only offering, you know, like having a place to play. That's important, but it's more than just a place to play. It's like reinvigorating the scene in Grand Rapids, the jazz scene in Grand Rapids. That you know, when I moved here 7 years ago from New Jersey, you know, there was it was kind of scattered scene. You know, clubs would have jazz or
Folk.
yeah, just like
Everything.
once a week, maybe, you know, like, you know, Sunday night jam session. You know, we had the Monday at Rockwell's and, you know, that kind of thing, or Republic, whatever.
Rockwell Republic.
Yeah, I'm
Shout
not sure.
out John Shea.
Yeah,
It's my man.
Yeah, so you know, but you know, we needed more a place where everyone gets a chance to play, and people can come out and enjoy themselves for a nominal fee. I mean, compared to other jazz clubs, it is not expensive to go. Like, it's very affordable for the general public to be there. Like, if you go to some jazz clubs, you're gonna drop some money. You know, like you would drop some money. You know, they have small plates, they have wine.
Food is good.
There's a nominal music charge. Like, you know, on the weekends it's $15 now. On the weekdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, it's only $10 music charge. You know, and this Saturday we have Professor Deese will be playing.
There you go.
You know, like his album release, which I had a chance to play on. So, like, you know, like Professor
other
Deese.
shoe.
Yeah, man, Professor Deese is like the cat, as they say. Yeah, so he's, you know, he'll be doing his CD release party there. Back in December, Rodney Whitaker did his CD release party there. Diego Rivera played there. I'm hoping to get really hoping to get Walter Blanding to play there with his own band of his choosing. The weekend of John Coltrane's birthday. Yeah, so awesome. Like we're trying to get more artists, more nationally known artists to come in, and yeah, so like I'm my goal is to try to get a diverse clientele of people all over Michigan. So we have local people that play there. Excuse me, local people that play there. We have students from MSU and Western and GVSU and some of the heavy hitters from Detroit, that come in, and so we're just trying to get a diversity of musical styles and people. And they have spoken word night, the first Thursday of the month, and then the third Thursday of the month they have a DJ that spins spins jazz. Oh wow! Like a jazz DJ. That's concept.
Cool. That's hip.
Yeah. So and they all rotate.
Really? Okay.
They rotate the DJs. They rotate the spoken word people, just like we try to rotate some of the musicians. Wednesday nights is duos, trios, and quartets. On the other nights. So like we're trying to really up our game, and we want people to come out and support.
Definitely.
In order to
call to action.
Yeah, call to action is like if we want a jazz club, people have to support it. We have to. We need that support. It can be a little bit discouraging when people don't show up, and because you got to pay the band, you got to pay the servers, pay the cook, pay for the food, pay for the it needs to be supported, and we're trying to open it up, maybe try to get more people in there, like having more seats or whatever. We're trying to find ways to to really be able to keep this thing running.
I'm just thinking about that jazz shrimp right now, man.
The jazzy shrimp, yeah. I've eaten my quota.
Yeah,
for sure.
For real. The last thing I want to talk about is just, I'm really interested. How did you end up in Michigan? What is that story?
Love. I fell in love with a wonderful woman. And I started to commute long distance. When I first met her, we, I came up, we spent extended weekend, and I came up again and drove, I was driving back and forth to New Jersey just to come here to see her.
You were in love.
That's a long way. It's like almost 800 miles one way. So it's like 1,600 miles. It was like, listen, I can't keep doing this. We got to do something. And it was either she was going to move to New Jersey or I was going to move here. And I decided to move here. And it's fit me very well. I enjoy my time here in Grand Rapids. I mean, every now and then I do have my I shake my head like, why y'all driving so fast? Or how come when it snows they all don't close nothing? Everybody's like driving through the snowstorms to close. Anyway, got to get used to that. What else? But yeah, I fell in love, and she happens to be the daughter of Merritt Mel Dalton, who was just an amazing saxophonist, like a legend, an icon here in this area. Her dad grew up in Pittsburgh, moved to New York, and played with, oh goodness, the name just slipped out of me. I 64, I need to take some Prevagen or something. moved to New York, played with a lot of people. He was part of the scene in the 50s.
Wow.
He went to Westinghouse High School in Pittsburgh. See, I can remember some details and then something.
It's all good.
Yeah, so like, you know, in his band was Stanley Turrentine,
Wow.
Ahmad Jamal, Dakota Staten, Tommy Turrentine, you know, like they had it
That's a
was
band.
Pittsburgh was a place, you know, obviously, you know, Earl Garner and Art Blakey are from Pittsburgh. But he you know, he got to see, you know, he was a great player and very beloved, I should say, personality on the scene, and he passed away in 2008. And he was he was an incredible player, incredible. So like, you know, I have a lot to live up to. Like I can't be slouching because for some reason, you know, I have his picture in my basement where I practice, and you know, it was like, my shoulder. Okay, I get it. I'm getting on it, man. I'm getting on it. It's like, yeah, I'll clean that up. I clean that up, Dad. You know,
Wow.
nice to have, you know, to have him just as knowing that he is the iconic classic jazz saxophone player. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's how I ended up here.
Wow. Love,
Yeah, man.
which is the good thing
Yeah.
to be brought to Michigan for, because you need love to stay. So
That's right, man. That's right.
No, but thank you, Professor Jones, so much for your time, for your wisdom, and sharing your wealth of experience with us. We really appreciate you. Everyone go check his stuff out. He's our first guest, best guest, right? So we're just trying something new. We're trying to connect the community, trying to bring people together, trying to inspire folks to put out music, inspire audiences to check it out, and hopefully, you know, we'll see what happens with it, this little summer thing, if it keeps going, and let us know what you think. So thanks, Prof. John. We're going to play one more tune.
Yeah, look, we're going to play a little something, play him out.
Yeah, well, let's do it.
Okay, cool.
Let's do it.
Cool.
This is...
Yeah. Cool, man. Cool. Yeah. Now I'm all warmed up for the gig tonight.
The opinions expressed in the preceding program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.